To be anti-capitalist is to experience tragic misery from loneliness. To demonstrate this, let's use an example of an anti-capitalist who loves hip-hop. Hip-hop is just a rags to riches story, which inadvertently promotes capitalist ideology. So on one hand, capitalism is evil and should be repudiated. On the other hand, hip-hop is enjoyable. The anti-capitalist in this case can't be unified with itself and is faced with a dilemma. You either enjoy hip-hop music and thus help promote and sustain capitalist ideology, or you be a true revolutionary and repudiate capitalism altogether, which leaves no room for the enjoyment of rap music. In both cases, the self is disintegrated insofar as it is fragmented between these two competing identities that are incompatible. This makes the self lonely as it is disconnected from its other parts. On a broader scale, this is actually much worse because most anti-capitalists see Western society as a product of capitalist indoctrination at large. This means that most all things in capitalist societies are in some way in service of capitalist ideology. The anti-capitalist, therefore, often has no room to enjoy things that in general help to unify the self. So in this way, the anti-capitalist must sacrifice himself and become a martyr for his ideology if he really wants to be the things that he portrays. He has to say that true happiness is actually the self-sacrifice, one of which requires you to let go of all things personal to you that integrate who you are in favor of the greater good. Put differently, you can't really have it both ways. You can't love Billie Eilish and Kanye, two people who I love, and also hate capitalism. It's kind of weird, right? Because in Kanye's music, it's very capitalistic. It's very, like, it supports a capitalistic ideology. Okay, or in the case of Billie Eilish,
you should see me in a crowd. I'm gonna run this nothing down. Watch me make them bow.
it's inadvertently supporting a capitalist ideology. So this is actually a very fun game that anti-capitalists are playing, where they want to say, look, everything around us is shaped by capitalist ideology. These oppressive social norms and social structures in general are just only in service to capitalistic ideology. You know, there's probably a better way. You know, there's all of this theory that we can talk about, these abstractions that we can get into. Yet they themselves partake in capitalist ideology and propound capitalist ideology in the films that they like, in the clothes that they wear, in fitness goals, food, conversations about race. There's just countless examples of how in painting capitalism out a certain type of way, making this sort of big, broad statement, you necessarily constrain yourself to the problem that you're trying to radicalize yourself out of by saying, hey, look, I'm anti-capitalist. You can't be. You record a video on TikTok with your iPhone. The blood and body of Congolese children are on that phone. How can you be anti-capitalist when everything around you is a product of capitalism? It seems like a dilemma that you can't really get out of. That is, unless you're going to rely on abstractions. So many intellectuals in general hide behind abstractions, but especially leftist intellectuals tend to hide behind abstractions because their sort of metric for humanity is very Rousseauian. It's this idea that people by nature are good, and it's the institutions that actually make them bad. You know, institutions corrupt them. Man is born free and everywhere in chains. And because of how state of nature theories actually work traditionally, insofar as they were never trying to say that their state of nature theories or theories of human nature were correct, there's this built-in ability to just make shit up. Like, you can be as abstract as you want to be when it comes to theories of human nature and state of nature theories, because the goal of this tradition was to just explain how we created society. Well, the problem with all of this could be understood through Hegel. It's something I talk about all the time. I know people are probably tired of me talking about it, but it's like this coming together presupposes a we. It presupposes a coming together. How are you going to say that we decided to come together without us already being a we? It just doesn't make any sense. Not to be too abstract here, I'm getting way too philosophical, right? But the point is that state of nature theories fail in general because of metaphysical reasons, abstract reasons. But more importantly, they just allow for the type of abstractions that people hold as true with no evidence. And that's just really what frustrates me. And I just don't think that history has revealed to us that there is some perfectibility of human nature. Like, I just don't think that that is congruent with history. And everything we know is contained in our history, in our memory, you know? And so when we think about loss and suffering and racism and sexism and feminism, all of these things, whatever isms, we want ideological things that cause great harm to the world, like, we can understand that it cannot be reduced down to, it was just the institutions. It cannot be reduced down to that. There's something else, because all men have desire. All men and women have desire, and desire seems to me to be an object of our negation, meaning we fulfill our desires through negation. So that means that, like, if we both are seemingly entitled to the same thing, and we both apprehend that same thing at the same time, there's gonna be a war between us. And I don't think distributive justice will save us from that. I don't think distributive justice will stop a man from looking at another man's wife. It doesn't matter if man has equal share in all things. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we're in a communist society where everybody has all the goods and the state is forcing you into labor and making sure you do your equal share, as Bellamy would say, and all of these things. Man still tends to want more than he has. Man still tends to want things that he doesn't need. And this is not a gendered man here. I'm just saying humans. So, yeah, with that being said, don't be lonely. Don't lose your identity trying to repudiate things that you're necessarily going to fall back into. Don't lose your identity in favor of abstractions. The essence of who you are, the what it is of you, is more important than just like fighting some meaningless struggle that you're never going to overcome. It's just miserable. And the funny thing about this is that recognition, identity is a struggle. Necessarily, it's birthed from struggle and conflict. But I think that we need to choose battles that actually have some purpose other than to just fuel our resentment and justify our loneliness. Why am I so lonely? Why can't I just feel better? Well, it's because you're disconnected from some other part of yourself that you see as evil because it's capitalist. When everything around you is capitalist. It just doesn't make any sense. Thank you for listening.